What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast network and channel. Want to give a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shy, Kelvin, Jermaine, Kobe Bryant Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right, that's right. And for everyone who's tuning in, we hope that you support Behind the Bench, become a subscriber, and help make this show the best that it can be. I want to touch on something that I haven't mentioned yet in all of the content that we have uploaded for the audience to watch and listen to. And in a couple of days, the Lakers will reveal the statue in remembrance of the late great Kobe B. Bryant, right? And, you know, this is a man, a player who represented a franchise for 20 years. Think about that, for 20 years. That is a long time, especially in the era of free agency in all the professional sports, not just NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League. And we've seen so much player turnover when it comes to superstars since 2010. At an alarming rate. We've seen superstars turn down supermax deals. We've seen high-level role players turn down significant contracts to play for the vet minimum and wind up devaluing themselves in the process. We've seen it all, man. A lot of stuff. Now, in contrast, we saw potential star players, let's say in the 90s, they turned down 8-figure deals like $85 million, $95 million. They wanted 9-figure deals in the ballpark of $100 million plus. That just shows you how the mentality has changed. And you have Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, played 20 years for his team, the San Antonio Spurs, the only team he ever played for. And then you have Dirk Nowitzki. I believe he played 21 seasons for the Dallas Mavericks, right? And if we go back to Kobe Bryant's last game, when he reminded us of the transcendent player that he displayed on that court year after 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 year. And it was something that was overlooked. Playing the Utah Jazz in April of 2016. And there was a lot of symbolism that was present. For one, some of the early representatives of the Lakers young core was on the court with Kobe when he played his last game. Specifically, Julius Randle, Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson, D'Angelo Russell. And his former teammates showed up and sat courtside. Shaquille O'Neal, Lamar Odom, and the like. Derek Fisher. And it was a beautiful moment because I believe the torch was being passed down from Kobe Bryant to the next era, next generation of Laker players. Cornerstones. And Julius Randle, who was drafted by the Lakers in 2014, he has given a number of interviews expressing the bond that he and Kobe Bryant shared. And I remember early on, Julius Randle, you know, he would stand up to a lot of his contemporaries that, you know, play his position. Kevin Garnett, or any major front court player, Boogie Cousins and Tyson Chandler. There's videos out there where it shows that Julius Randle wasn't taking the back seat to nobody. I put it this way, he wasn't going to back down from nobody. I put it that way. Because he was still a young player trying to prove himself. So I won't say taking the back seat, but he went back down. And those players respected him. In particular, Kobe Bryant did. When they asked him about Julius Randle's mentality, he said, hey, that's a grown man out there. And you can tell, man, see, this is why I'm going to get to the point of what this video is about. When you're in the process of passing the torch down, and it doesn't get passed down because an entire era of what was supposed to be the future in Laker basketball was totally preempted, that's heavy. It's heavy. Especially during a transitional period where a franchise is starting all over again. Because if you think about it, if a player represents your franchise for that long, we ain't talking about 10 years. That's a long time too, 10 years. 7 years is I mean, technically, you know, we'll just say 10 years. We'll say 10 years. But 20, that's 2 decades. Kobe Bryant entered the NBA in the famed 96 draft. We had a ton of great players who came out of that draft. And if a player represents your franchise that long, sooner or later, you're going to have to start over. No matter what you do, you're going to have to start over. So, Kobe Bryant scored 60 points, right? And he gave us a thrill in the last, 6 minutes of that game. Hitting big shot after big shot. Going up against the Utah Jazz. And remember, prior to the start of that game, that was the same night when the Golden State Warriors of 2016 was about to break the Chicago Bulls single season victory, a total of 72 wins back in 1996. And there was a poll asking this question: what game would you rather see televised? Golden State breaking the Chicago Bulls record, or Kobe Bryant playing his last game? And by a landslide, the vote came in by 2/3, around 60, 70% of the people who responded said they wanted to see Kobe Bryant's last game. Now, mind you, that was a special feat by Golden State. But the thing is, Kobe Bryant, what he represented was the last remnant of what made the NBA great at the time that he was playing his last game. Because we was 6 years, you may well say, into the heart of the super team era. And a lot of basketball fans out there, they miss watching superstars compete. When we say compete, we're not saying that a superstar should be required to do it all by himself and that he doesn't need support around him. Players that are able to excel and play their role and help, reach their potential as a team and possibly win a championship. So he represented the last remnant of what made the NBA great. That's why so many people wanted to watch him play his last game. Otherwise, if Kobe was not a reflection of that, most people would have said they wanted to see Golden State make history. And I get it. So what I'm getting at is his last game was more significant than him playing his last game. Because it was what he said in the speech that he gave that really stood out. Now think about it. You play your last game. Normally, you would think that a player, if he chooses to give a speech to the crowd, you would think that the speech would consist of nothing but, thanking, friends and family, or family and friends who helped him, get where he eventually wound up, and fulfilling his dream as becoming a professional athlete, and the support that they gave for him to achieve those goals. Thanking teammates, coaches, fans, right? Now, he did do that. But it was what he said in the heart of his speech that I believe a lot of fans overlook, particularly Laker fans. What was it that he said? It was like he was giving a message, a plea. This is what he said. More than the championship years, I'm more proud of the down years because we didn't run. So when we start winning those championships again, we did it the right way. And when he said that, it resonated with me in such a direct manner. I know what he was saying. I know who he was directing that message to. And I know why he said it. And the reason being is what he said provided a framework for a player who had to represent a franchise when they were down and took a hit, let's say a setback, after the Lakers traded Shaquille O'Neal to the Miami Heat after the 2003-2004 season. So that first season after Shaq, you knew the team was going to struggle, not because Kobe couldn't eventually lead them to success, but when you lose a dominant center like Shaq, it's going to take time to adjust or readjust. Okay. So we know how Kobe's career progressed initially after Shaq was traded. That first year, the Lakers did not make the playoffs. As a matter of fact, that's when the first year when Phil Jackson decided to move on from coaching the Lakers. And they hired Rudy Tomjanovich, or Rudy T, who arguably made the greatest resounding response after leading his team to back-to-back championships in Houston with the Rockets, when he said, "Never underestimate the heart of a champion." Rudy T. But the problem was Rudy T only coached the team for a season because he was not a Laker. He was a Houston Rocket. You see how that works? Okay, so after that season, the Lakers would slowly begin to rebuild by drafting players. Contrary to myth that the Lakers don't develop young players, Andrew Bynum was drafted in 2005. Not only was he the youngest player in the league when he was drafted, he was the youngest player ever drafted into the NBA. Andrew Bynum. They drafted Jordan Farmore. They drafted Sasha Vujacic. Right? And they developed them. Bynum, in his fourth season, which was the 2007-2008 campaign, he began to emerge and became the Lakers starting center, averaging like 14 and 10. And he was playing great until he suffered the first major knee injury of his career. Jordan Farmore improved significantly, along with Sasha Vujacic. Right? And they still had Lou Walton. They brought back Derek Fisher and still had Lamar Odom. This before they got Paul Gasol. So what I'm trying to say is, when Kobe said, I'm more proud of the down years because we didn't run. Now, mind you, he was frustrated in the beginning because this is an athlete who had just recently won 3 straight championships. And now you're asking him to lead a franchise in a total rebuild. We've never seen that before, where a superstar was asked to do that and rep the franchise. I'm talking about any of the legendary players of Lakers past. And it's not a knock on them. I love all those guys. But Tim Duncan was not asked to do that. He was never in a position where he had to do that. Now, Michael Jordan, he had to start from the bottom up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying, so in his case, his greatest challenge was in the very beginning. Right? Kobe's greatest challenge in terms of being looked upon to lead the franchise. By the time Kobe, by the time 2005, happened, and when the Lakers moved on from Shaq, well, Kobe was expected to lead the franchise moving forward as the sole superstar. That's what I was trying to say in terms of like how Michael Jordan, his career evolution along with Kobe Bryant's career evolution. So when he said, I'm more proud of the down years, see, going through that struggle, those 3 years after Shaq was traded, it brought out another level of Kobe's greatness. Because for a superstar to be willing to do that, and there were frustrations along the way, but he knew he was a Laker, and he felt an obligation to rep the franchise, ultimately rep the franchise. So when you say I'm more proud of the down years because we didn't run, well, the fact of the matter is he didn't run. Right? So by him having to walk in those shoes as a superstar, I don't believe any other superstar can relate to that outside of maybe Michael Jordan for what he was asked to do in the beginning, leading the Chicago Bulls franchise that had been unsuccessful for a period of years, throughout the early 80s. late 70s. And he was asked to elevate their franchise to get to the point where they're seen as competitive. And then they start adding these significant players around him, the Scottie Pippens and the Horace Grants. But basically, Jordan held down the fort. That's what I'm trying to say. So Kobe did the same thing for those 3 years, 05, 06, 07, right? So when he said that, it resonated with me in such a definitive way that I knew what he was talking about. I knew why he was saying it. But the conclusion that I reached was he was sending a plea to the team and the Laker franchise. Do not forego these young players, because they're going to be the building blocks to reestablish the foundation for future success. Listen to his words and what he said again. More than the championship years, meaning the championships him and Shaq won, which he appreciated, but the 3 years that he had to rep the franchise and a total rebuild, it's like those are the 3 years where you can argue that he earned the right to be viewed as the greatest player who's ever worn the uniform. It's not the stats. It's not the 81-point game. It's not, scoring 40 points in 9 straight games. It's not scoring the 61 points in Madison Square Garden in 2009. That was just more of a reflection of who he was as a player. Not going to the free throw line and converting 2 free throws after he just injured his Achilles. It was the 3 years where he repped the franchise when it was starting all over again, or let's just say rebuilding itself up. I won't say start all the way over, but just rebuilding itself. That took a lot of patience and a lot of understanding for him to be able to go through something like that. Right? And so when he said those words, I don't think that it's one of the things where you're caught up in the moment. This is Kobe's last game. You're celebrating what he just, achieved on the court, scoring the 60 points and bringing the Lakers back one last time to claim victory, right, against a Western Conference foe in the Utah Jazz, which you had a lot of battles against over the years. And he gave his all, man, and all his teammates ran up to him mid-court and embraced him. He hugged everybody, man. It was a beautiful, surreal moment, man. But he gave that speech for a reason. That's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't like on a humbug or on a whim. No. He took the time. It's not like, after he played his last game, that he did a separate interview like a day or two later. No, he felt compelled to say those words right there. Because I believe he sensed that the franchise was going to go a direction that is going to further set him back after the attempt to try to win by any means. And see, if you really think about it, him willing to go through that rebuilding process over that 3-year period, it gave him foresight that he probably wouldn't have if he had not experienced that. That's what ultimately led to that speech. He was saying, don't take the shortcuts. Yes, we've been down. See, that's the thing. See, if you're going to enjoy the highs, you got to, what can I say? You have to support the team during the lows. And I'm not saying fans didn't do that. But what I'm saying is, in this culture of particularly when it comes to the NBA and the super team era, where you're throwing all caution to the wind, you're throwing all chips in the middle of the table. And it's still not a guarantee. See, there's a difference between selling yourself short and going for broke versus truly believing in what you're doing. In order for Kobe to go through those 3 years playing with teammates who were lesser talent, where teammates outside of Lamar Odom in the starting five had trouble, competing in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? After their experience, playing for the Lakers. So when you go through something like that, I just believe your perspective is it reaches a point where you go full circle. You come in as a rookie, you try to establish yourself, you have this world of talent, you have this breadth of talent, man, that's really seen, a skill level off the charts. But you still have to go through the process to start reaching your potential as a player. So it's almost like, in a sense, those 3 years kind of reminded Kobe of what he had to experience starting off in his league individually as a player. And then he had to lead this franchise and rep the franchise when it was down. Right? And therefore, that's why he got both his jerseys. When he changed the jersey number from 8 to 24, that's why he got both his jerseys hanging in the rafters. I don't even think it's so much about the championships. It's about him repping the franchise those 3 years when the franchise was in rebuild. See, so those experiences led him to conduct that speech. And if anybody, want to, if they haven't had opportunity to watch this speech, go peep it out. And people see what I'm talking about. He said that for a reason. It was like he's saying, look, don't take no shortcut. Let's go through the process and build, and we'll surprise ourselves, in the end, where we can surpass our own expectations. It was almost like he was sending a message, man. It was like he was sending a message ahead of time. That's what it felt like, at least for me. And I'm sure other fans out there, reacted the same way. But let me put it this way. I wish it was more fans that really took heed of what he was saying than what appears to be the case. That's what I'm trying to say. So at the end of the day, and when he said Mamba out, man, it was almost like he's saying, y'all have an opportunity to build something special, but it will take time. And he knew, and he had the awareness because he went through it. You see what I'm saying? 05, 06, 07. He went through it. So he understood. So when he won that championship and led the Lakers to the title in 2009, and you following the Lakers during that 5-year period, man, you understand. Looking back on it, you understand, man. Like, man, Kobe really went through something, man. And then, of course, he led the team to back-to-back championships. See, when the Lakers went to the finals in 2008, they weren't even expected to get there. So they was ahead of schedule when they lost to Boston in the finals. Although, man, it was a painful loss. Don't get me wrong. You felt it all year, all off season. But even then, he set the tone for the next year when he said, I'm proud of my guys, but next year we got to come back more physical and play better defense. He set the tone right then and there. Didn't throw nobody under the bus. They weren't asking for trades. They came back with the same squad and was on a mission. See, that's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. So when you share those words, man, in closing, I'll say it one more time. More than championship years, I'm more proud of down years because we didn't run. So when we start winning those championships again, we did it the right way. So even more important than championships itself, for him, it was about representing that jersey, you see. Because think about it. Because in the end, the team was at a low point, right? And he knew, towards the end, especially at the end of that Achilles, and then had that knee injury. Well, he knew he was not going to win any more championships, but he still repped the jersey, man. And ultimately, that's what it's about. Fundamentally, that's what it's about as a superstar. That's what I'm trying to say. Fundamentally, you're not going to win every year. You're going to have highs and lows, but it's about representing that jersey. And I would say, like I said, those 3 years that he repped the jersey and repped the franchise, when they were starting out, when it was kind of like, okay, we finna retool and rebuild. It's gonna take a couple years, but we gonna make it happen. To me, that's what separates him, and that's why he has, of all the great legendary Lakers, I believe that's what puts him ahead. I don't want to say put him ahead, but if you say which one's the greatest Laker, I believe that is the determining factor. That's what I'm trying to say. Because all of them, from Wilt to, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Magic Johnson, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, they're all legendary. All of them legendary. Gail Goodrich. But at the end of the day, Kobe Bryant rep that jersey and represent that franchise for 3 straight years, too. When the franchise was down. And he was in his absolute prime when he did that. It wasn't like he was 33 years old. No, he was, he entered the league at 18 and 96. So around that time, he was like 28. He was in his absolute prime. And he did that. He sacrificed a lot, man. He sacrificed a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. So I believe that's what led him to, give that speech, man. And it was beautiful because it to me it set the tone for what the franchise could have achieved years after his retirement if they had just stayed the course. That speech set the tone, and it just seemed like the franchise was starting to rebound from that down period, and they would drafted excellent young talent, and they brought in the perfect young coach to lead them starting out, and everything was on the upside, man. Everything. And when you look at where we at now, man, it just takes me back to that speech that Kobe gave. So it's almost like he was like the messenger, man. So I just wanted to share that real quick, man. That was just one of the greatest moments in Laker history right there. That speech that Kobe gave on that night. But I just wanted to drop that nugget. And until next time, this is JB for BTB, Behind the Bench.